Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So I'm called Tegemos, and on this particular video I'm going to be teaching you guys on how you can scrap the web like a programmer and make massive income. Okay, so I'm going to explain a little bit of why we scrap the web and the reason why we need to scrap. So you can see right here we have a very large amount of matches of today. There are a good number of matches, a lot of them right here. Okay, so the idea behind these matches is this. So if you are to predict these matches on your own, what you can do is you are just going to direct over the matches one after another. So for example, let's go into the Brighton and Crystal Palace match. So you notice that you are going to enter this particular match right here, and then you try to look for what you are looking for here. Okay, after you move out back, and then you are going to like move to another website, maybe soccer24.com, Soccerway, Soccer Punter, or maybe you want to go to Flash Score or some other one just to try to gather data and go into some other predictive website and getting the data which you can combine them for this match. So you notice that you are going to take a lot of time. You might even take it up to 1 hour, 2 hours in order to like extract data from this particular match. Okay, and then getting them and then getting the statistics at the end. You don't even know if it's still legit or is a good idea to bet on the match or not. Okay, so now with program blast, they know exactly what to do. They have tools which can easily scrap all the data that you do it manually. They have tools that are going to scrap the data without them doing anything. Just lie on their bed and run the script, it runs, and then scrap the data and come and tell them, yeah, I've seen value with this particular match, that is where we should bet. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you on how I do that. And then if you are new to the channel, know in this channel I give you people matches each and every day. As long as it's value picks in a day, I'm going to provide you a match that you're going to make an income from it. So you can look for my previous videos. I've already shared matches and people have been making an income, and the channel have already been growing pretty much recently than I expected. And I can see as from this that a lot of people are making an income from it. There's a reason why they subscribe to the channel and liking the video and commenting on them. So if you're new to the channel, please make sure you leave a like on the video, and then it dislike to tell me that I'm doing trash or whatsoever, and then you make sure that you leave a subscription, and most importantly you click on the notification bell, or you're going to miss matches whenever I post. Okay, so now let's get into this video. And if you're interested in making tools like this, okay, you want to learn how to make tools like this so you can become a professional gambler or a professional in whatever you do, become a web developer or become a good hacker and bounty hunter, this is a channel where you should be, guys. And the most important thing is that I do everything, most of them right here, with just my mobile phone. The reason for this being I'm from Africa and I know the consequences and the difficulties people face in Africa, and they really find it difficult. Sometimes it's really difficult to buy something like a laptop or a computer which you can sit and learn your programming on it. But on this particular channel, I try to do everything as simple as possible on my mobile phone so everyone can learn from it. So let's get into the video. So now, before you start to scrap data, you need to have a plan. So my plan for this is that I need to like go into this data, right? I need to go into each and every one of these matches, and then I move down. Okay, and you can see there are a lot of past matches, all of that. So my target is, you have a target because you have something that you want within the match. Okay, so for me, I want to scrap the matches scored in, that's the Brighton. You can see Brighton and Crystal Palace. So you can see matches scored. So Brighton have scored in 68% of its matches, whereas Crystal Palace have scored in 70% of them. Okay, so you can see matches considered, and that 68% of the matches, 75% of matches played. And then talking about Brighton, who have been at home, okay, they have scored matches scored in, they have scored 56% of goals while they are at home. That means playing at home, they are able to score about 56% of goals. Okay, that means out of a 100%, they are able to score about 56 goals. Okay, whereas being away from home, that's we are talking about Crystal Palace, they're just able to score about 54% of them, okay, where they are away. So what we want to scrap right here is this, guys. So we need to, for me, because you might have your own plans of scrapping some other things, but for me, I'm very interested in the goals. Okay, so and I think prediction is more about the goals, not even about how many matches a team have win and all of that. So you should always pick by the goals and go for it. Okay, so I want to scrap this particular amount of goals that each of them have scored while being at home and away respectively. So I'm scrapping the goals scored by amount of goals, the percentage of goals scored by Brighton at home, and the percentage of goals scored by Crystal Palace away from home. Okay, so that is my plan. And then I'm not really going to be scrapping on this particular website, okay, on this particular match. Okay, I also need to be able to scrap all all these matches, these statistics right there, so I'm not going to spend my time going through each and every one of them manually. Okay, so you can see there are a bunch of matches. Okay, like you want to scrap on all of these matches. Okay, if you're doing it manually, it's going to really take you a lot of time because you need to visit some other website and get the data. So now let's go and start programming at the moment. So I'm just going to start by copying the URL of this website. So I'm just going to copy it right there. And so the first thing we want to do is to go into our terminal, which we're going to be using for this particular purpose. We are going to be using a Thermos. Okay, Thermos is just like a terminal emulator. For example, you have the Linux environment, which is on Linux for the PC version, and then your Ubuntu, Mac OS, and all of that. Okay, so for this, we are going to be using Thermos. And when you want to initialize Thermos, you need to like install some packages like pkg update and pkg upgrade. Okay, so I've already done that, but when you did that, you run it, and then after you need to run pkg install Python. Okay, and then you also need to install Python, and then you might also need to install some other modules at the end of that which you want. Okay, like you might install nano, whatever. Okay, so after doing all of that, you just need to run Thermos set up storage. So you are giving permission that it can be able to read from your SD card, and the reason why you need to give this permission is because if you allow script to run automatically on this website, you can be able to steal data from your internal storage, like stealing your WhatsApp information, some important document that you have in your maybe in your folder or your SD card or internal storage. Okay, so just run that, and it's going to ask for the permission, then you grant it. Okay, and then now you need to run cd SD card. So I'm just going into my SD card. If I run ls, you're going to see all the files inside my SD card right there. So I'm going to make a new directory. So I'm going to call this directory so let's call it tips. Tips just simply referring to the tips, like in the match, the tips just referring as the tips, like the match tips or whatsoever. So it's just like something that makes sense, but it doesn't really matter what you put right there. Okay, so you cannot create directory file exists. Okay, it already exists, so I'm going to make another one. So I'm just going to call it stats. Okay, so the directory have been created, so I can cd into the stats now. As we created, okay, it was called stats. So if I run ls, you can see there's nothing in it, so I'm just going to create a file called I'm going to create a file touch stats.py. So we are creating a Python file with that. So if I run ls, we can see the stats file having created. And if I move back, if I go into my SD card and storage, you're going to see a folder will be created already. Okay, so we are looking for the stats. Okay, so you can see this it right here that we have created it. Okay guys, so now if we enter it, you're going to see the stats.py file right there. Okay, but nothing has been stored in the file. So now we are going to move back to our favorite editor which we like. So for me, I'm using Unwriter. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be using for this video. And then the first thing I need to do is to go in and look for the stats right here. So it's just going to direct me into my SD card when you click on that. So if you're using a writer, just simply click on what it just look like file up there, and it's going to take you here, and then you can look for the folder that we just created. Okay, so you can see this the stats, and then we have the Python file. Okay, so after opening this, you can see stats.py. We can start coding now. Okay, so for that, we are going to start by importing the module which we are going to be using, which is just request. Is a module in Python, and we are going to as our cure. The reason why we are using as our cure because we want to like shorten it so that we won't be writing request. We just want to write something like our cure, which is pretty good. So I'm going to like create a variable called HTML, like within the HTML source code makes a little bit of sense. Request.get, so we can get or put or post or delete or whatsoever, or patch whatever method that you want to use there. But for us, we are going to be using the get one to get the data of the website. Okay, and we are going to be passing it the URL that we just copied. So I'm going to paste it right here. So you can see that is it right there. So I'm just going to like so I'm going to print the HTML source code right here so that we can see what we just copied. Okay, so what we just so I'm just trying to print what we initialized there, the request. So it's just going to like dump us the HTML source code of the tipstararea.com. Okay, so let's go and run it. Okay, so Python. Before we do that, we have not installed the module. Remember, we are using a request module right here, so we need to, if you are new, you need to follow pip install it. This is the way you install Python packages in Python. Pip install request. So just one that is going to take a little bit of time for you, but for me, I've already installed it, so it's just going to like automatically execute it quickly. Okay, so you can see, so we're done. So now I can run Python stats.py. Okay, so it's just going to dump in the HTML source code of the website. Okay, no, it never dump it. The way it just say response 200, which just means it's okay. It's the status code of the response. That's the response status code, meaning that it's a good request, because you might have 404 requests which is not found, 400 bad requests, or my 500 something internal server error and all of that. Okay, 302 direct and all of that. Okay, but for this, if we need to, since we need to get by the HTML source code, we're using it, we can use .text. That's the way you dump the HTML source code of the website, in using the request module. Okay, so you can see it just dump us the HTML source code, but our main aim right here from here is that we need to move into, like, for example, if we click on a Brighton match, you can see it's creating us something like this, and then you can see it's appending match, and then Brighton Crystal Palace Premier League be behind the tipstararea.com that we first of all had right there. Okay, so our aim is that we want to scrap from the match Brighton.com. As you can see, if you also move down, we're also seeing the other matches also having the same format match with the team names and the match ID behind it. So what we want to do is to scrap this entire URL so we can execute all of the matches at the same time. So it's going to make a little bit of sense when we move forward. Okay, so for now I'm going to like go into the source code. Okay, so I'm going to just like click on view source. So there's the way if you want to view the source code, like what we just dumped on the terminal there, we can also do it on the browser by just simply doing that view source. It's going to work on Chrome and Firefox, guys, so you can use it anywhere. Okay, so now if we try to look down, we can first of all see, if we move down, you can see this you can see this how it's been formed. This is how it's been formed. The first thing is first of all get the CSS selector, and then the class of the CSS selector, which is game, and then just simply get the href, which just like href, just simply when you just use href when you are like to you are trying to specify a particular perimeter which you want to access on your website, so you can just pass it here, so that when they click, it's just going to append this behind your domain and execute it on the browser. Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, so now, but we know on the terminal we cannot execute this way, so we need some other form to get around it. Okay, so you can see the Zimbabwe match was like this, the first one, African Cup of Nations, and then we have the second one going on, but I want us to pick but the Brighton on. Okay, so you can see Brighton and Crystal Palace. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to split this data. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this onto, I wish the first double quotes right there. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because I need to extract all of this data. I need to extract this data from reading from here onward. So we need to extract this data and read from here to here. Okay, that's what we are trying to get, because that's where when a user clicks on it, it's going to follow that link. Okay, so we are trying to get them. So for each and every one of these matches, we are trying to get each and every one of these links, the perimeter we are going to append on our link. So now I'm going to start by copying from the href right there, and then I'm going to copy and come in here where you have the double quote. So I'm just going to copy that. Okay, and then I'm going to move back into coding back, and then so I'm just going to put HTML instead of just printing only HTML. I'm just going to say dot split, and then I'm just going to pass in this. So I'm using single quote there because we already have double quote in this string, and if you try to use double quote again, it's just going to remove all the links. So now Okay, so we also need to double encode it at the end, just to show that we are ending the string right at the because I'm sorry, we need to use this double bracket at the end right here. The reason for this being that we need to close and end this one, and you can see the split has an open bracket, so it needs to be end as well. So that's it. So if you execute it right now, we are going to see some other so if you take a look right here, just look at it's a little bit different. So I'm just going to try to like copy this so that we can see it earlier. So if I run this script again once more, okay, so you can see it's giving it. So I'm just going to paste what, so let's just move 1 2 and then paste what I just copied there at the end. So you can pretty much see from the ending right here, you can see it's already different up there. So switch out so you can see we are having something a little bit different right there, but it's still the same thing. So you can see it's the ending with the HTML, but now you can see it's trying to include. So you can, if you look at this, we are going to see it's ending it in this form, meaning that it's trying to say it's listing the thing in a, it's trying to list the what we call an array in other languages, but it's just a list in Python, meaning that it's trying to, you have just like iterate over the each and every one of this particular, iterate each and every one of this each that we just copy and paste right there, and then it's going to like start it for each and every one of it. It's just going to like start it with an array. So it's just going to put a comma and say this is another array, this is another array. Okay, so for this, so what we can simply do right here is get the length. So let's just say the length of the array. So what we are trying to do right here is to get the array length. So we are just going to count the number of array, which just simply means this. Okay guys, we are trying to like get the number of matches. Okay, so since it's an array, we are trying to get the total number of these matches. So we have these matches going down right there, so we want to get the total amount of matches, or the parameters, okay, that we are going to be using. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the view source at the moment and execute it. I'm trying to make it as simple as, so that you guys can really understand it pretty much. So I'm just going to move back to the Python match. Okay, so you can see this is the match right there. So now if I run that, okay, it's just going to show us the length of the match. So so we start by running ls, and I'm just going to run again Python stats.py. Okay, so if we run it there, it's going to show us the length of the string. Okay, so you can see it's telling us that there are 83 matches. So if you count all the matches that were in there, there are going to be 83 of them. Okay guys, so now what we need to do now is to try to like split this data. So the first thing is that we need to get the length. So I'm just going to like use this, and I'm going to call it len. Okay, and that's going to be that. Okay, so because the reason why I'm storing that, because we are going to need this earlier. I'm very sure we are going to need it in a for loop. Okay, so now I'm just going to copy all of this once more again, and then we move down, and then I'm just going to use a print again, and we are going to paste there the same thing which we copied earlier, and then we are just going to enclose it. And now we can simply direct through which particular line we want to do. So like for example, if we have the list of matches, the 0 just simply means, please note this 0 right here is not going to, it's going to pick the first index of the array, and the first index of the array in a split statement is always the first line. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's even what you want to do, but so for example, we are trying to pick we are trying to pick this. So we are trying to extract this particular data right here. So this is what I'm talking about. We are trying to extract this particular match ID going up from there. Okay, we're trying to extract that, but the thing is that when we use the 0 index, instead of picking that match, it's going to pick up this first line of the string. Okay, so it's going to read by this first line and end into to where we specify, and then from the second one now it's going to start picking our Python match. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate it in a moment. In a moment. So this, I'm just going to move back to the match of Python. So that's it. Okay, so now the split 0. Okay, so 0 just simply means just going to pick the first line up there. Okay, so if you run it right here, you can see it's not really echoing a lot of results right up there, but they have just picked the first line of the array. Okay, so I'm trying to like get it to, so that you guys can pretty much see what I'm talking about. Okay, so you can see it just extracted this. Okay, it extracted this first line, and then it just extracted everything to the very end, to the very end of the first div. So it just extracted an end where it can end. Okay, so now you are not really in control of it at the moment. So for example, if I pick the first one now, the first one, and move, is going to pick the first match of the array. Okay, so now let's first of all shift these things down and execute the code against one more. So now it's going to pick the first match, or you can see it's starting to pick the first match from here now, and then which just happens to be the match of Senegal, Guinea. Okay, so the first match of that loop. So if you go back there, you can see the first match was so the first match right there. So we can just look, shift down and see the first match of this array thing. So you can see this is the first one right there. So it's picking the first one, which just happened to be match of Senegal Guinea. So you can see Senegal Guinea right there. Okay, which is the first match of the array. And then if we take the second one, so the second one, if the second one should be the second one in the index of the array should be this particular match of Malawi Malawi against Zimbabwe. Okay, so now what we have noticed right there at the moment is that we can extract it and get them. So if we try to get, for example, let's get the second one, which is at the, it's supposed to be the third index, but it's going to pick by the I'm sorry, it's this 4 at the third index. Okay, but it's going to pick at the third match. That's just how you understand. So 0 means 1 in the, when you are trying to pick specific things in an array or in a list in Python. So 0 just means 1, and then 1 simply means 2, and then 2 now simply means 3. Okay, so 2 is narrating to the third index, so you pretty much understand what I mean. Okay, but anyway, we'll be moving forward, and then I'm pretty sure you're going to understand it more as we go forward. Okay, so now we can see do dot split. So we want to split instead of, so let's just move into it, instead of just throwing out this thing, and then we just want to instead of getting all of this data right here and then just dumping it and then still continuing to dump this thing right down here. So you can just see it's just going to read it to see the next A, because since we started from this A right here, it's just going to read until you see the end of the A, and then it's going to stop reading from there. Okay, but we need to specify that we need it to read. We need it to read, and then it ends where it see the first double quotes right there, because the first double quotes right there is where we want to read the file and end. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that and dot split again, so we pass it in it. So we are using single quote because I have a double quote, and then we are going to enclose it again. Okay, so now if we let's try to run it. If we try to run it now, let's just see, pretty sure it's going to echo us an error. Okay, so you can pretty much see it never echoed an error, but it's simply dumped the array because there are a lot of them. So you can see it's trying to like get each and every data there that's having an ID, then forming an array with it. Okay, so you can see it's like getting it and turning it into an array. Everything that is a double quotes, because there are a lot of double quotes. If we move up here, you can see there are a lot of double quotes. After that match ID, we have the first double quotes, the second double quotes. So that's what I'm talking about. This is the first double quote right here. First double quote, and then after moving it, we have the second double quote, and then the third one right there. Okay, so you can see that's what it's just trying to do for each and every double quote that you see. It's just going to end the thing right there and put a comma just to say it's an array, another array, another array. So what we need to do now is to specify either we want to read which particular array do we want to read. Okay, so we want to read only the first array. So the first array just simply means we are trying to read this. Okay, so that means we are trying to read until we see this first double quotes right there. Okay, so that we want to read until we see this first double quote. So when we see the first double quote, it's going to end there. You remember I told you that to read the first thing of an array is just simply by putting a 0. Okay, and then you can see, so it read from here. When it sees there the double quote, is ended it there, and it ended it there and put a stroke right there, or a comma, sorry, just to say that is where you have ended. So it just continue doing that, but we need to specify that we only need to read the first one. So this is just like this entire first line of the array, and then end where this comma is there. And then we can also pick the second one. The second one is just simply read by this one now, okay, as long as we can also pick the third one and onward, okay. So but we only need by the first one. So if I run it now, it's just going to send us the link in a more clever way that we can see. Okay, so you can see now it have just echoed us the match in a more detailed way that we can see, because we have read it from the first index. Just going to expose it as the second one. But if we try to read it from the second, it's going to instead move on, instead to showing us but this particular ID right here. Okay, so this data right here. So let's try it and see, but we should not need that. Okay, never read. Okay, so it read it an n, and then after it's going to read an n here, and then it's the echo right in front. So it's trying to echo us, but this, because this is what is in the value of the of that. That is why it's in the value of that double quote. Okay, so that's why it's showing us, but in the that right there. Okay, so I think it pretty much make a little bit of sense if you can understand. So we are reading it at the 0, and then what we need to do now is to store all of this data in a file. So for example, let's put this to be okay, so I'm just going to still print it out. So let's print it, and then we use a for loop here. Okay, for x in range. So since we know the 0 index is going to pick the first thing that is in the file, so we need to start reading from the first index, because we don't want to pick the doc type or the HTML. So what I'm referring to, remember I told you that it's going to start reading from here. Oh, I'm sorry, just give me a while this thing loads up. So I told you we're going to start reading from here, okay, which is just happen to be at the 0 index, or the first element of the array, which is just at the 0 index. Okay, so but we need it to start reading from the second index, because the second index is our data, and then we need it to get this lane, to read onto this lane. The reason why we are using this lane here is because we need to get this lane. So we have, remember when I echoed it was 89 matches, so we need to get the length of the match, because we only need to read the n and matches. We cannot be guessing things, or we are going to be fall with a lot of errors. Okay, so for example as that, so if we take for x in range of that, okay, so we are just going to like pass in the x here instead of passing it, meaning that we are saying that you should make a for loop and then get each and every one of those matches. All the matches should dump, they're not just getting already the Senegal match or the first, the second, the third. You want to get all the matches. Okay, so let's get them all. So it's okay, yeah, because we need, since it's a function, we need to end this way, and we need to also give a space right there to say I'm sorry, since it's like this is just how you work. Since a for loop or whatever the built-in functions in Python, they have their way in which you can do. So you need to like add a space right there after reading it. Like in other language like PHP or Golang, you don't even need to do this. You just simply need to continue coding, because you just need the double quotes or whatever. Then use them right there. The parenthesis is open and close. Okay, so you use them right there. But in this particular case, this is how you just do it for Python. Okay, need to very specify, you put the double quotes right there. I don't really know the punctuations, their names, so it's okay. So I guess you kind of understand, and then you give a space right there before you execute it. Okay, so let's run it now and see. Okay, so you can see it's just going to dump all these matches. Okay, so it's going to dump us all of these matches, and then if you try to read from the first match, it is something of them. So you can see it's going to read, I'm sorry, so let's just look at this last match right there. Okay, so this is the last match, 86 match right there. It was Forgerens playing against Busker SK Club. Okay, so I'm just going to like shift back, and we can just move down and see the last match, so to confirm that we are right. So we can see Figurines against Busker SC, so meaning that our data is right, and then that's how we need it. And then now we need to store all of this data in a file, okay, so that we can use them. Because when you click on it, because if we try to access this thing, because the reason why you are storing it in a file is because you might need to remove some type of data in this particular file. Because if you try to store it in an array, we cannot be able to remove stuff in this. Okay, so we need to like store in a file, so I can manually remove what we don't need. Okay, so we're going to be needing it to use later. So I'm just going to move in, and store it in the file. Okay, so to do that, we need to create a variable called, okay, so we're just going to name in match, or match, it can be matches, just so we feel that we are trying to get the matches right there. Okay, and then we need to use this. This way you can, so there are two ways in which you can actually store into a file in Python, or more ways even, but the most simplest one and the more recommended one is this one, because you don't need to like close the file right there. Python automatically know when you need to close it for you, and which is really good. In language like PHP and others, you will need to close them manually. Okay, but for this you don't need to close. So with open, so we should name a file. So I'm just going to put teams.txt, so there's a file, and then we need to open the file for writing. If you can, I don't want to use WI here, because since the for loop is just going to read the first line there and stop reading from there. Okay, it's going to only read the first line, and then you're never going to read all of them. So we need to use a just simply mean read, and then wait. If there are some other data coming, you continue reading. Okay, so it's kind of the same with other languages. Okay, it's not like only in Python, but the same with other languages. So now as f, so we need to specify the method. So this is just like the f right is stand like a variable is going to store this open stuff right there. Okay, so we need to like write the file f dot write. So the f dot write just simply means we want to write the file into, need to write the file so into the f. So now what we are trying to write is this particular data, the match data we have right there. So we want to get all these matches and write them in this file. So we're just going to copy it and paste it right there, because we need to write it in there. And then what we need to do is that if we try to like run this data, okay, if we try to run this data, we are going to notice that it's just going to dump all of them at the same time, but there will no new lines breaks as we are seeing at the first when we use the print statement, because normally prints already have a new line in it. Okay, but since we need a file is not going to have that in it, so we need to like implement a new line break after reading each and every match. Okay, so to do that, we just simply append a plus sign and then we add a new line like that. Okay, so that is good enough. So if you look at it, like, you are going to notice I only have the start.py, but running it again is going to create this file here called teams.txt. Okay, so let's run. Okay, so it showed nothing on the screen, but if you go back, the file have already been created. Okay, so you can see the teams.txt, and then if you want open it, so you can see these are the matches in it. All the 82 matches, there were 83 of them, but since I told you it's reading from the zeroth index, okay, so that's the reason why we're having 82 instead of the 83. Okay, so now and see this for currents, I guess it's still the last match. Okay, so what I need to also do is let's remove this file first. So I'm just going to remove, copy it and paste. One, you notice that it's not more there again. So what I need us to do right here is to append this particular this host name with it. So https 2 tipstar area.com. So this is just a way that you use to append data in like this. If you are used to with other languages, you might have been using my sprintf and all of that, and then there's also a format in Python. You use f and then you go and put the format which wants to store the data, but we are going to be using this one as for this particular case. And then we need to enclose this, trying to say we are passing this data, and then we need to specify where we want to pass the data. And to do that, you just put the modulus, and then you can specify maybe you want to, it's a digit, just use d there. It's a string, I use string, maybe float for that f. So we're going to be using a string right there. Okay, so what we want to do is that one that you should take this http tipstar.area and then get the data that is coming back from it and append it. Okay, so I'm just going to like run the script and then demonstrate what the reason behind that. So if we run the script again, it's going to generate us that file again. Okay, so you can see ls the file, the teams have been generated, but let's go now and look at the teams and see what's happening there. So you can see for now it's now getting, instead of just like saying the Seneca just starting from reading from the match, is now appending this https and activestararea.com, and then it's trying to append the Senegal, Guinea, Africa, Cup of Nations. It's appending all of that there. Okay, so meaning that it's really making work for us a little bit easy, so that we are going to use it in order to assist the matches as we plan. Okay, so now let's get into it and do it. So for us to get these matches, I want us to first of all remove a couple of these matches to make work for us easier, because like I told you, you're always going to fix this data. That's the reason why you need to store it, since you are still trying to like understand how it really work, or maybe as under development you need to like do it this way. So I need to pick up, I'm going to pick the first 10 matches. So we are still going to delete all of this. So all I need for now, I just need to use by the 10 matches, but you can append them and run all of these matches at the same time, guys. The reason we find this is because we are under development and we have so much time to be waiting for each and every one of these URL to be completed. Okay, so now since we have gotten them, so we can comment out all of this data, because we have the file, so we can just simply comment out all of this and move into accessing the data. So for those of you who don't still understand this data a little bit, okay, so now what we are just doing here is this, the same thing right there. Okay, so let's move back. So for example, if we click on this Brighton match right here, Brighton match, and then we look at the URL right there, so we are going to see that this is the same URL, almost the same thing with the Brighton match. So we can copy it simply and copy. So now it's just going to take onto this match, but it's taking us, and then we are going to append this URL, because you need the URL in order to access this particular match. And then you can see this is the same URL right there. So I'm just going to open the space and paste it right there. So we just copy that one from there and come and paste. So if you look at it, it's the same thing right there. So you can see everything. You can just look at it manually and see it's the same thing. Okay, so I think you pretty much understand now, and we can simply like, I'm just going to like not save the file and we open it again, so everything is okay to go. So now we have commented out everything right there. So now we need to start scrapping this internal structure of the match right there. Okay, so the first thing is that we need to first of all start by reading the file. Okay, in order to read the file, so I've commented this out, but it might be in the form of a function. I only call it when you need it, but I just comment it out because I don't pretty much need it at the moment. I'm not going to be using it anymore, so I'm just going to open the file. So to open a file again, if you remember quite well, is with open teams.txt, that's how we call it, and then you can specify it this way to show that you are trying to read the file. Okay, as f. So we are going to use f and f there again once more, and then so we need to do f dot read. So you just need to, the read function doesn't really need to have any perimeter. It's just going to automatically know it's trying to read this data in here. Okay, and then so let's create a variable called so I'm sorry, just trying to like write something in PHP. Read equals to that. Okay, dot read that, and then if you try to like print the read, so let's see what happens. Sorry, so you can see it's going to read this thing, but the thing is that it's still reading them in the line, so it's like just reading one line after another after another after another. But what we need actually is to like strip the line and turn it into an array. So dot to split it and turn it into an array, dot split lines. So split lines is just going to simply do the magic for us. It's going to split everything and convert it into an array. So if we try to run the script now, I'm going to give down some space and then run it right there. It's going to convert it into an array like form. So you can see now we have this right there, and all the data have been choked off, meaning have fall in the form of an array. The reason behind this is because I want us to run this data in the form of a concurrency. Okay, the reason behind this is because we need to array through a lot of matches, and we don't really have much time to be waiting for the while we are running a particular match. The core is just going to wait, and the CPU is resting everything once we finish, but we just need to look through each and every one of them. But for this first time, we are going to like try to look through the data with So we are going to try to use it run in manually, so that we are going to see how important is concurrency in this particular matches. Okay, so let's define a function, and then we are going to call it so let's say team data. Okay, so we're going to call define a function called team data, and then response. So let's just there we just say result. Okay, so our cure.get. So if you're wondering where our cure is coming from, is this that you are using this import request as our cure. So we are using our cure.get. So we are sending another get request again. It might be a post like I told you before, but we are sending a get request, and we are going to be passing a URL. And then after we want to return there is. Okay, so we are also going to pass this this perimeter there, or the variable URL right there. Okay, so instead of us trying to pass this URL in there, so we are going to like change this also to URL, because we want to use by this particular URL right there. Okay, so we can call this function down here now, team data. So let's try to call the URL right there and see what happens, guys. So let's run it, see what happens. Okay, so you see it doesn't echo us anything out. Okay, but if we try to like say we want to access the first element of that array that we have, or the list that we had. Okay, so it's echoing me nothing out, so like I need to figure out there's something going wrong at the moment. So the URL team data, let's just shift that behind. I think I'm making, I was a little bit making a bit of mistake right there. So f.read.split. So I'm just try to like remove that. You might not also, you don't really need to put that, guys. So request.get URL team data. F.read and f.get okay, so you can see it just echoed out all the data right there, but we can specify that we need to access the first data right there in that array. So this is how we do it. So we just pass the 0 index, means the first line of the array, not from. Okay, echoes out nothing. I'm kind of doing something wrong right here. I'm trying to figure out a little bit, since I haven't done this split lines that, and then team data.url, and then we pick down the data and so as is the first data in the array, URL. So guys, let me try something. Let me try to, I'm sorry. Let me try to print. Sometimes that's just how programming works, guys. Sometimes you end up with this type of simple things that really complicate you at times. So I'm just going to like run URL and see what's happening, if it's giving it in a nice format that I expected. Okay, so it goes us nothing out. That sounds interesting. Let's try to run that way and see. Okay, so it dumps us everything. Trying to access the first index. Let's see what happens if it's going to show us the first index of that array. Yes, it does. So what's going wrong? is stuck at the moment. I don't really know what's happening. Let's see. Oh, so we just needed to print it out, guys. So I'm really sorry. It was a print statement where you can see sometimes things can really get a little bit complicated, and you might just end up like giving up without knowing why it was a print that needed right here. I never needed, but I never needed to return it. But normally I'm going to need the return function, but I just made a mistake. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need it. So now so you can pretty much see if we try to print it, it's just going to pick the thing. So let's just run a for loop for x in URL. Okay, so what we need to do is to execute this x. So let's just going to loop through each and every one of those matches and be like printing us out the result. Since we have 10 matches, we should be seeing 10 result there. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So we can see that the 10 of them right there is really eating us a lot of times, guys. And then we can also like run this data again while monitoring it. So I'm going to explicitly say verify. We just simply need to verify the Ssl certificate. I'm going to specify false. I don't want it to verify because I want to capture this request and show you something really important. Because very soon we're going to need to run this data in a concurrent fashion, and you are going to see how important this really is. The reason why I'm doing this, just getting some nasty crap from this. So if I run this right there, you can see it's going to be running them one after another. Send one, get a response, send another one. So you can see it's taking a lot of time, and then it's just doing each and them in one after another, just like doing them synchronously. Okay, as it's been said in the programming world. Okay, but we need this data to be run asynchronous, meaning that we need to just like run all the 10 requests at the same time, not sit down and be waiting for this to finish, so that we are going to like save so much time for us. Okay, so for us to do that, we need to, so I'm going to use the return here back. So to do that, we need to import concurrency features. Okay, so it's from concurrent, when import futures. Okay, so now we are going to execute the command here. So we are using the concurrent futures in Python, and then to execute it, we are going to start by saying with futures dot trade pool execute. We need to pass the amount of trade which we want to handle at once. So max trades equals to we are going to specify them to be 10. Okay, as exit we just simply like means something like to execute something. Okay, let's say execute. I think execute is a built-in function in Python. That's the reason I was trying to complain. And so now we need to just like specify a form of, so let's just say data equals to execute, specify execute dot map. So we want to map it so that we can be able to assist them. So the reason why we are using, I'm going to explain a little bit. Okay, the map, so we need to get this function which was team data to the URL, sim data, sorry, comma, and then we need to specify the was that supposed to be the URL? Yeah, the URL. So now we pass in that form. Okay, so the reason behind this is that we we are trying to map each and every one of this data, and then for each one, so let me just go up and explain a little bit. It's going to generate this function, means it's going to generate 10 of these functions. Okay, for each and every one of those functions, it's going to like get each and every one of these URL in that array as we specify, and then it's going to like map it onto one of, for each and every one, map it to one of those functions. So it's getting it and mapping to the function, getting it and mapping to the function. Okay, 10 of them, and then it's going to like execute them. So that is why you have the max straight 10, so that you can map everything here, execute. So if you try to like print something like print, let's try to print the data and see what happens. So it's trying to complete. I think I did something wrong with future straight put executor max straight as executor, so I think there's a problem there. So it should be straight pull executor. Okay, I think, okay, it's trying to complete keyword. Okay, max straight. So I think the max straight is not correct. Let's see if it's max straight. The keyword max straight. Got an unexpected keyword max straight. I'm just trying to figure out what is wrong, guys. I think this should be underscore. I think I'm just having a problem with the spelling of that. Max straight. I don't know what's really happening. So I'm just going to like Google search on it. So let's see what's happening, how this, maybe it's a spelling which is wrong or something. Let's see how it's been written. So Google is always your friend, guys, no matter when you are having something which is pretty much difficult to understand. So you can always search around and go to Google and try to search if you can see what you are looking for. So I'm trying to just like look for it. So let's just try to look at it in the main Python docs, how this is being run. Oh, it should be max workers, not max straight. It's terrible. So it's just like specifying the amount of workers which you want them to run, or how many amount of threads you want to execute at the same time. Okay, guys, I can kind of understand. So I'm just like going to execute it now. Okay, everything works. But so the reason why you're seeing this error is not really an error. It's just trying to complain that I've specified there the verify false, which is not secure, and using it on the development side can really cause atrocities, as hackers might be able to penetrate and do a lot of crazy stuff there. Okay, so you can see it's just trying to specify this memory address. This is where all of this data is stored, and then for us to access this data, we need to be accessing it in the form of a list or a tuple or whatsoever we want to. Okay, so now, so we have been run, if you remembered, where when I run this data some time ago with and stored and get the data right there, so we noticed that it was executing one after one, by one. So let's try to see it in a way. Let's try to see it when we run it concurrently. When we run it verify, false. Okay, So now you can see I've just specified it to be verified for. So I'm just going to start my packet capture in case any data flows and I want to clean it up first. So I'm just going to move back to my terminal and let's execute it and see what happens. I think it's Cog is just like dumping everything right there. So I need to, let's run it now and see what happens. So you can see instead of running them manually, it just execute all of them at once. So you can see this pretty much there's a very fast speed of doing it. I don't want to be monitoring the time because it might take us some time. So you kind of understand the idea behind this. So like I told you, in order to access the data, okay guys, you might need to specify that you need to get the data in the form of a so let's say we need to get it in the form of a list. Okay, we need to use it because we are going to use it. So it's a list. So instead of echoing us the memory address, it's going to echo us everything. For that, I'm going to remove this so that we can see it pretty clear. Hello, so you can pretty much see this what's happening. So you just execute all of them at the same time instead of just running one after it goes to the second one, after it goes to the third one. So let's make it a little bit. Let me try to see if I can. Yeah, no, it's not gonna work. The reason behind this is because it's trying to store this in the form of an array. So you can just see all this data have just been dumped in here, and you can see this is the first one, the second one, the second you have stored in an array. So we can simply access it by going to the 0 index and then trying to access the data and use it as we want. Okay. So for this, we need to like get the length of the data as well again. So for us to do that, we are going to need the length, but for now we should not execute that at the moment. So we're just going to like store in the variable called so let's just call it list. Okay, so let's just call it list as for now, and we are going to try to split around it. So what we need to do right now, as it is to scrap. As I told you, we're going to scrap this particular data. We're going to go down and scrap this particular data right here, like to scrap the matches scored in. So you can see matches scored. 56% of the matches were scored that they have played at home, and that. Okay, so this is really the main reason behind this, guys. This is really going to be important because you as well, you will need to extract data from other websites. I'm really taking my time so that I can explain this to you so you can understand as well. Okay, so we need to extract that data right there. Okay, so for us to get the data, the first thing is that we need to view the source code again once more and try to see where that data is located. Okay, so it was 50, if I remembered, where it should be 56% and 44%. So we are just going to direct and try to look for where the data is stored in the HTML. But you can copy this and search it in the like in a file like the one that I have right there. So for example, I can just select all of this data and then I copy it to clipboard, and then I can create a new folder right here, and then I paste all the data. So you can paste from the clipboard on the data, and understand. I don't know what's happening, guys, but let's just pause it. Still going to work here. So I'm just going to move down since it was around the last area of the text, so we can, I think we'll pretty much see it somewhere here. So I'm just like looping over it. So you might take some time to look around it and figure out what you are doing based on the specification. And some of this data is not always in HTML format, and then it's going to like chop you off a lot of time. So pretty much I don't know what's happening. Who is calling and it doesn't stop. Okay, so I'm trying to see some percentages right here. So caption over under matches scored in. Okay, so I think this is it right here. Okay, so the first thing is that we need to try to get the table row. So we can try to get the table row, because if we try to like get this particular table data, Okay, so you can pretty much see the post is appearing here and the post is appearing here again. Okay, but if we look at this caption, you can see that they are pretty much different. Okay, so you can see you have the match considered, then matches scored, and that's a little bit different. And then so we can copy it and then we read to where we see the first the first end of the table row. Okay, so now let's just copy this entire thing right there. So I'm just going to like copy it from here to here. Okay, so I'm just copying everything right there, and what we need to we need to move into our tool right there and go back. So we were reading just the status code, and for now we need to get the data, so we need to run .text. Okay, instead of just getting the status code, we need to also get the text data. Okay, so now we are going to run print list, and then so we should only get the first index, which just happens to be the Brighton match. We copy it dot split, so it's going to pick for the Brighton match for the moment, but we are going to like split and get for each and every one of those matches very soon. Okay, so now dot split using a single quote, because we have a double quote. If we could have had but single quote, we could have been using double quote to surround the data. So you can see we have just done that, and we can close right there. Okay, and like I told you right there, you can specify the particular data which you want to read, where you want to read. Okay, from, so let's just try to pass in one as for the moment. Dot split, well, let's pass 0. We are going to fix it very soon. Dot split, so remember I told you we are going to read until we end at this table which goes to end at this table row. Okay, so the reason behind this is because this particular data here exists a lot, so we cannot be picking it to use, because it's going to, like you can see everywhere, it's going to take us a lot of time and may result in bad results. So the first thing is we need to first of all scrap this particular file and then get all the data inside, and then we can then assist this post 1 and post 2 manually without having to go through a lot of problems. Okay, so now after splitting it, we need to also dump this particular data that we just copied. So that is it. And we only want to read it to be we'll read it and end at the first one, so we only need the first one, don't need the second one, because we don't need to go and read from the bottom. So let's just we need to also enclose this, because we have an open, the print was open, so it also needs to be closed. And let's run that. A name that is not defined. What the fuck? It's pretty much close. Okay, data, I'm sorry, it should be data, not that. Let's run it once more. Okay, everything worked just fine. Okay, so we can pretty much see the thing right here is that instead of reading the data that we have specified right there, it's going to read the first one. So we can pretty much get our data, like I told you, the 0 index, so it's going to read at the first file, so we can get the first one and see. Okay, so you can see the first one is reading 68% and 70%. So you can see there are two of those, and then the first one right there is supposed to be reading the entire match. So this is what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to like enter into this particular match tipster area again in another terminal. So we can go to the Brighton match once more. And if we move down right here at the bottom, so we are going to see that so we're going to see the match is scored in. So you can see 68% and 70%. So that's just what we were simply seeing right there. So you can see 68 and 70% because it's talking about the entire matches, okay? But what we need is this particular case right here. So we just need to extract both data year to year, okay? We are trying to extract that, and then if this is at the first index, then the second index should be that. I'm pretty sure, because there's the second one which just happened to be the home, but the thing is that it just had the same name. As you can see, they was having the same name right up here, matches scored, and you can see this is the caption which we have the matches scored right here, and it's having the same caption. But the thing is that they are just in different, they are just in different arrays. So as you can see, based on what we have here, or different list. So now let's put the third one right here and run and see if we're going to have in the fifth. Was it supposed to be? It should be. The second one should be okay. So matches scored, it should be 54 and 44%. So let's see if we're having it. No, the third one is out of range. So I think it's one, it should be 2, because we're already going out of range. So it should be 2 right there. It should give us the data which we need. Okay, so you can see the 56 and the 44%, which is pretty much what we had here. Okay, so this pretty much means that you have extracted this. So you can go around extracting anything in this table as you wish. Okay, so try to extract and use them right there. So now we have get the data, and then what we need to do is to get the percentages of the so we can now store this one into a list, into a variable. So let's just call it something like, I'm just going to use L1 just to like make something simple that we can just narrate over. So create a variable called L1, and then after we move down, and then we need to, so L2 now, L2 is for us now to start extracting this entire data. So we need to extract the first one, so we can just simply copy it and see that the first one came in right here. So we are just going to like copy it and come back right here. So instead of using it, we need to use by the L1 now, because we are trying to split from the L1. So L1 dot split. So we need to pass in the data. Want to split, so there's that, and let's close it and tell it that we need to read the first index. So you can see the first index right there is just that, so there will be no error right there because it's just the first index. Okay, there's nothing up there that you're going to read in the line, so it's just going to read just that. Okay, I think you all pretty much understand. So we're telling it to read the first index dot split again, and then it should read until it sees at the end of this. The ending is supposed to be this, so we don't need, maybe we just need that, so you just copy that and paste in there because we need it as well. So you should read an end right there. Then you should only read for the first one and end at the 0 index, which just happen to be the 0 one. So most often you're just going to be ending this thing at 0, because you only need to read it and end at the 0 at the first one. Okay, so this is the first one right there, because this is the first one up here, but this is the second one. And then if we try to use it with this second one right there, try to put it at the first index, it's going to try to take by this one, which is going to cause us trouble. Okay, so that is that, and then we can just simply like copy the same thing. Going to copy the same thing again and paste result 3. Instead of specifying result 0 here as specify, since we are going to the second one, we need to specify it as result 1. Okay, so now we can print, let's try to print the data and see if you are doing it right. So I'm first of all going to put the arrow 2. So let's bring arrow 2 and see if it's going to echo us 56%. It never echoes us anything. Okay, so you can see from here, guys, it's still with this empty space here. So like I told you, it's with the empty space, meaning the 0 index is never our future that we want. So we need to start reading from the second index. So now this should be 1 and this should be 2. It's pretty simple. So if you want to get arrow 2 now, it should be printing us the 56. Yeah, That's pretty much cool now. And then we can pretty much run the arrow theory, which hopefully should be printing out 44%. 44%. That's pretty cool, guys. So you can pretty much see programming is really cool, very very cool. So now we have all of this data in place right now, and then we can simply get what you can see. If we remember pretty much where we can see this was for the 44%. The first one was for the home side, which is just for Brighton at home, and 56 was for Brighton at home, and Crystal Palace away from home was 44%. So that's just what it's just going to do. But now, if we are not having the team names, okay, so we needed to get the team name and put in the form that we can understand. So to do that, we move back and we are just going to try to look where we have the team names. So hopefully they should be right up here, so you can see, okay, H2 item prop B name Crystal Palace. And then I'm trying to look for the home name also. Okay, H2 prop this, so you can see the names of the teams are within this particular perimeters right there. So we just need to like split it and get the data. So let's see if we can get the data by splitting this from here. So I'm just going to like put like an L4. First to split, so instead of splitting, we need to try to split from the list again. Also list dot split. Am I even right? Okay, yeah, we need to say the list dot split is okay, I think. Or am I getting something wrong here, guys? So please just give me a moment. Okay, we are just going to see anywhere else, so I'm just going to like paste what I just copied right there, and then we're just going to cover it. And for the moment, since we know the first one is going to start reading from our future, instead of using the 0, we're just going to use the 1, and then dot split, and then where do we want it to end? So it should read until it ends at this H2 tag right there. So we are just going to see what it's really like at the end. So pretty much it's really complicated at times, guys, to really figure out how these things really work, but I think it's making sense. We're going to end up with good results after all. So let's just see. So print L4. Let's try to print L4 and see what happens. Wouldn't be surprised if it pop into an error, guys. Okay, so it picks Brighton, which is cool, and then L5 now. So one is for Brighton. Let's hope we can do L5 is going to like pick another multiple thing again. So copy and paste, and then we need to, since it was L1, so L2 should probably be Crystal Palace for now, I think. Okay, if it's not it, guys, because we don't really know what we are doing, so we're just trying an error method. Programming is a lot about trying an error. We just try where you see a good result, you accept it and move on. And so I'm just going to like run again print. Let's bring the L5 and see if it shows us Crystal Palace. Hopefully it shows us Crystal Palace, guys. So now we can pretty much do something like this and try to print out all the data that we are getting. So print so the first thing is that we need to try to print out the name of the theme first. So arrow, the home team is L4. Plus, we give a space, then plus hour. So we need to put the hour2. Hour2 is just simply referring to the home team playing at home. So hour2 is getting the data. So we're just trying to say that this is equals to this, and so let's just put something like this equals to that. For plus so let's give a space here before we do this. No, I'm pretty much wrong. So we're supposed to be giving a space right here before we go for the second match, which is just the R5, which happens to be the Crystal Palace match. We're going to see if you are right or wrong very soon. So just need to close it and plus our 3 our should be our 2 our 3. Yeah, it should be our 3. I'm right, I think. Maybe I'm right. So it's just going to like get the team name, then it's going to give the percentage of score at home. Okay, so let's try it and see if it works or not. Look like something fun is happening. I don't know if I'm having my internet connection is slow or what's happening, but let me just while it runs, I'm trying to see if anything is right here. Everything is right. I think this is as a result of slow internet, guys. I don't even see it sparking up there. So you can see, okay, so you have just dumped it right here. So you can see Brighton 56%, Crystal Palace 44%. So let's try to see it if it's if we are right or not. So you can see for the homes, the home man was Brighton, which have 56%, and away was 44%, which just happened to be the away side, which is like which is Crystal Palace. Okay, so since we were doing it just for Crystal Palace because we're still under test purposes, but now we want to loop it through each and every one of those matches that we had right there. Suddenly the internet connection just becomes slow, guys. It's really tough. So while loads, we move back to coding. So since we at the first time we were trying to like get there for each and every one of these matches, we're just trying to like get only for Brighton for now, but for now we need to loop and get for each and every one of those matches that we had there. So now we need to use the for loop. Okay, for v in range 1 2. So we need to get the length of the data right there. Okay, so we just simply use length of the list that we had. Okay, if it's in this range of the length of this, then it should goes down, and then it's going to replace this with v and v. So it's going to loop through each and every one of these matches now, guys. Instead of just showing us all the Brighton match, it's going to be showing us all of the matches and the data that we have in the list. So these are the matches that we had. If I have the team, so we can see we have Brighton, Nice and Nantes League 1. So we have Long Red Star, Paris Champions National. So we are going to see about it soon. So let's try to run it and see what happens. So we can pretty much see it's pretty fast, guys, very fast. And then you can see I've looked through each and every one of those matches. So we had 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 1 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So we there was one was not there instead of the 10 matches, and the reason for that is just simple because we never had so let's speak because the reason why we never had the one because I started from one. So I made a mistake. It's supposed to be zero, picking from the zeroth index. The reason behind that, or you can just say in the length of this list, okay? So that is just going to do everything for you. So let's just move down and execute it once more. A slow internet connection, guys, but if you can pretty much see right here, so so you can see from what we can see up there, you remove us the match of the first, so you can see it just started from the nice match, but and then remove us the zeroth one because the zero was supposed to be, as we were putting zero earlier to pick this match right here, so the zero was just supposed to be that match. Okay, so that's where the error occurred. Okay, so it's very normal right here in after see these things happening, guys. So I'm just going to like restart my data and let's see what happens. So I'm just going to run the script again one more. Taking so much time, the internet connection is still disturbing, guys. But if we can kind of come back right up here and try to look at the matches, execution. So since we started at the first one, I think pretty much see what's the deal behind it, and I can pretty much stop this right here and we move back and see from up here. Sorry for the interruption, internet connection disturbance and all of that, guys. I don't it's pretty normal in Africa here. We have these internet issues every day. So you can see pretty much if we like think for this, so I'm just going to copy it so I don't need to be coming back here all the time. So if you copy the data, so we already know this zero index was for the match of so let's shift down and paste it right here. From in this type of funny form, but it's just okay. So it's okay. So we can see the first one was the second match was Nice after the Brighton match. So let's go back and see what's happening. Kind of see if it's gonna work even. Okay, I think the internet is back, so we can try to run our script. Let's try to run the script once more and see if it's gonna work. Stuff, guys, it's not going to work anyway. I don't know. The internet connection is really poor. That's the reason behind all of this mess. We struggle with it, guys, so we just need to understand that's what's happening. But if we go to the news, let's try to go if it's gonna work. Stuff. And to browse the web will not be able, so let me see if I can connect to a VPN. Pretty tough, guy. We were stressed with we as programmers here in Africa, we stress a lot because of these internet connection issues, and it really kind of bring us down. Okay, so let me just reload the page and see if it's gonna work. Okay, so you can see this is the next match, the second match. So if we go back here and look, we are going to see the percentage of matches scored in. You have scored in 60% of matches while playing at home, whereas it's playing against Nice is playing against Nantes. So let's also see the percentage of matches Nantes have scored while being away. So Nice at home have scored 60%, while Nantes playing away from home have scored 80% of them. So let's go and verify if it's true on our data. So let me just try to see if I can run it. Where was, guys? Nothing is happening. nothing is happening, but I think we have the data. We stored it somewhere here, so you can see NIS is 60% and NANT is 80% right there. Okay, so you can see that's pretty much it, and it's giving it because it was, we saw 60%, 80%, that's the same thing. So now let's also go and confirm it. Boulogne is 75% at home, whereas West Star Paris is 67% away. So let's move back and try. Let's just see if the internet is gonna work, guys. I'm really stressed out, but the truth is that everything is going to be normal as expected. So Boulogne is postponed, but I think I still have the data as the Boulogne that we had, but this is it right there, so I'm clicking on. So this is it. So if you move down, if we remember quite where it was about why is Boulogne is having 75%, why Red Star Paris is having 67%, so 75% and 67%. Let's confirm that. So match is scored in, so 75% and 67%. So we can see they have the same again, so that's 75, 67%, meaning our script is working as we expected. And then we can also check for Chambly against State Breaching. So this is about 75% and a 12%. Okay, unfortunately the internet is not working at all again, guys. It's really terrible. Maybe I may have to end the video right here. Okay, so let's just try to like look at it. So let's try, so you can actually Chambly it, and you can see it's right putting the margin and sending order how they are right here. Okay, so we can pretty much open that one as well. And while it loads up, let's go back and see from here. So we can, for the Chambly is 75% and a 12% for State Breaching. Let's see if it's going to show us the same data. Yeah, really fucked. So it should be 75, 12. Yeah, really fucked here, man. The internet connection sucks. Yeah, just try my best, but the truth is that everything is going to be the same, guys. It's going to be 75%. So thank you so much for watching up to this particular stage, and please make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed the video up to this stage. It took me a lot of time and work in order to bring it up. As you can see, all of us work together and it's really difficult. Okay, so please leave a subscription and then leave a like, and then also make sure that you comment below if you love the video or not. Okay, thank you very much and stay safe.